In a small coastal village, there lived a fisherman named Marco who spent every day complaining about his misfortune. While his fellow fishermen returned with boats full of fish, Marco's nets were always nearly empty. One evening, as he sat mending his torn nets on the shore, a wealthy merchant approached him and asked, "Why do you always fish in the same spot?" Marco replied, "Because this is where my father fished and his father before him." The merchant smiled and said, "Your ancestors fished here because the waters were abundant back then, but times change. The fish have moved to deeper waters, yet you remain anchored to old traditions because you fear the unknown." Marco felt defensive and said, "I don't have a bigger boat or better equipment. How can I compete with others?" The merchant looked at him thoughtfully and responded, "The biggest obstacle isn't your boat or your nets. It's the limit you've placed on your own thinking. You see yourself as unlucky, but luck favors those who adapt and take calculated risks." Saying this, the merchant walked away, leaving Marco alone with his thoughts. That night, Marco couldn't sleep. The merchant's words kept ringing in his ears. Am I really holding myself back? He wondered. The next morning, instead of going to his usual fishing spot, Marco decided to venture further out into the sea. His heart pounded with fear and excitement as he rowed beyond the familiar shallow waters. When he finally cast his net in the deeper area and pulled it back up, his eyes widened in disbelief. The net was filled with more fish than he had caught in an entire month. Tears of joy streamed down his face as he realized that his poverty was never about bad luck. It was about his unwillingness to step out of his comfort zone. From that day forward, Marco became one of the most successful fishermen in the village. But more importantly, he became a different person. He stopped blaming circumstances and started taking responsibility for his choices. I thought I was a victim of fate, but the truth is, I was the creator of my own limitations. The moment I changed my perspective, everything else changed too. The merchant nodded with satisfaction and said, "Most people spend their entire lives blaming external circumstances for their failures, but the real barrier is always internal. When you shift your mindset from victim to creator, from limited to limitless, you unlock doors you never knew existed." Marco's story spread throughout the village, inspiring many others to challenge their own limiting beliefs. And as the years passed, the entire village prospered, not because their circumstances changed, but because their thinking did. Because true transformation doesn't begin with changing your environment. It begins with changing how you see yourself and what you believe is possible. And that, my friends, is the ultimate secret to success. Your thoughts don't just shape your reality, they are your reality. So choose them wisely, because whatever you consistently think about, you will eventually become. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And the greatest tragedy in life isn't failing to achieve your dreams. It's never believing you were capable of achieving them in the first place. So dream big, think boldly, and remember that greatness isn't something you're born with. It's something you choose every single day through the power of your thoughts and the courage of your actions.